What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Soundstage here with Kyle, Mental Effects. I'm here with the one and only Daryl Bennett. Daryl, how are you doing today?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you very much. I have to be honest. So, my stepfather's name is Daryl. I don't see a ton of people with Daryl spelled that way. But my stepfather's also is that way. So, um, always fun to see stuff like that. So,
It's not
uh,
so fun if you want to find those little keychains at casinos or gas stations, though.
yeah, yeah, it's if you want to find anything like that, or if somebody's looking for you online and they type it in, it's always something a little different and all that sort of thing too. So
Yeah,
no, totally.
Darrell sometimes. That's more common.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
cool.
the LL is generally how I see it, but anyway, why don't you go ahead, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Daryl, as the title says.
Right there.
And yep, exactly. And so I have the DJ company ADM Productions, and this is my 8th year DJing. And I never planned on DJing. It was never something that interested me or I even thought about that much until I had been, performing in a band for a while. Um, I kind of just stumbled upon it by accident and also kind of just stumbled onto lighting by accident. And it's just something I've been doing ever. Yeah, here we are today. And yeah, ADM Productions, we try to do about 50 to 100 events a year. We have a few photo booth operators and a few DJs on the lineup as well.
Well, that's awesome. So you said you kind of happened to it by accident. So how does one accidentally fall into DJing?
Well, my whole family, there's a lot of musicians in my family. My dad he played drums and guitar and piano, and he played in a band when he was growing up. A lot of my uncles and cousins play in bands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of my uncles right now, he's in an ACDC cover band, and they are awesome. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and so it was always my dream to play in a rockin' band, just like the School of Rock.
Sure.
And yeah, so I was doing that. It was a great time. And then we were supposed to, we had this gig where an annual gig where we'd play at this Halloween party for private residents. But the hard thing about having a band is you have to coordinate several schedules. And we just weren't at the point of having like a big lineup of like backup singers, backup performers. So the drummer, he had DJing experience. He actually worked for a multi-op all throughout high school in Idaho, because I'm based out of Utah, and that's where we all live now. Um, so he offered to DJ for them, and so they agreed. And he said he had no lighting experience, and I had been dabbling a little bit. I was borrowing some of my friends' lights for our band performances, some old Chauvet Derby lights,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, I was just getting to the point where I was starting to like master slave them. And well, the derby lights, they weren't that eloquent to do much controlling, or having them on master slave didn't really do much difference. So I went to help him out to set up the speakers and run the lighting. And I thought this is actually pretty cool. So I started thinking that maybe on weekends that the band was like busy or wasn't able to perform, I'd maybe like advertise us to DJ. And so that just kind of picked up. And then for a while, I like was DJing so often I couldn't ever commit to perform in the band. And so I disbanded the band and have been DJing pretty regularly ever since.
That's awesome. That it's always fun how it kind of happens naturally like that. Starting with the musical background, bands, things like that. That's pretty. It's pretty common for a lot of us DJs. I was in a band. I was a trumpet player and all that kind of stuff. But
Nice.
um, so yeah, that's a pretty neat way to come about it. And so it just kind of picked up from there. You said that was about 8 years ago.
Yep.
Okay, and it's just been progressively kind of ramping up ever since.
Um, I don't know if I'd say ramping up.
Okay,
Because ramping up, like, it kind of insinuates that it's leading up to somewhere. And
sure.
I never thought I'd be teaching this long, or the business would grow to this size. And I'm just kind of taking it year by year. And I just know for 2025 I'm planning on on continuing to DJ. So
Hey, there you
having
go.
fun and making money, and that's what it's all about for me.
Yeah, no, that's a really cool way to think about it. Just hey, it's something that I get to do. I get the opportunity this next year, and I'm still excited to do it. So still going to, and we'll see what 2026 brings. So that's a that's a different way to go about it. And I kind of like that. So you got started doing, I'm assuming smaller things, kind of like you said, like that town celebration around Halloween and all that sort of thing. Um, so where did you come up with like the name? Was that like a spinoff of your band name, or how did all that stuff come around?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, Aaron was the drummer of the band, and he worked for the Idaho multi-app called A&B Productions. And A&B didn't actually like stand for anything. It was just a really good name to put in the phone book because phone books used to be a thing back
Yeah,
in the day.
absolutely. Yeah.
And so in alphabetical order, A and B ranked pretty high. So his name is Aaron. My name is Daryl. So ADM, so Aaron Daryl Music Productions. And I definitely think the business has grown from what it originally was gonna be. But I made a logo, I made T-shirts, and I just really haven't had the time to think of different names. So it's just kind of stuck.
Well, and the longer you kind of ride with that name, the more it gets associated with you, and the harder it is to go. So maybe you just named it perfectly out of the gate. So nothing wrong with that.
Maybe
Um,
people always forget the name. They're like AMD, I mean, like the processor, or ABM. They forget the initials. So I don't know. It's not the best, but it's what we're going with, and I think there is some name recognition.
hey, that's all right. Yeah, stick with who brung you. So that's totally fine. That's totally good. So is he still doing that stuff with you, or are you kind of doing everything by yourself, or how's that going?
Um, from the beginning, I kind of handled like all of the business stuff because that's kind of what I did in the band as well. Um, but yeah, he took a year off because he was deployed in the armed services, and he just got back like in October. So
Mm-hmm.
I think the week he got back, he wanted to gig, and he did like a Halloween party for one of our clients, and yeah, he's right back at it. So
Oh, that's good. Kind of, and that's cool that he was all excited about it. Even being gone for a while, so that just kind of how it kind of just gets into your blood, being able to go and do the performances and all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool. And so you and him, you've been doing the band stuff together. Now you're doing the DJ stuff. So when did you guys meet? Be cut through the band, or did you meet in school, or how did you guys all meet and everything?
yeah, so um, I put out an ad onto, I think it was called KSL. It's like a classified, it's like Craigslist for Utah people. It's not as popular as like Facebook Marketplace has taken over in the past few years. But I put out an ad on KSL, and he responded. He just moved from Idaho and it was new to the area. So yeah, that's how we met, and the rest is history.
All right, that's pretty cool. People just kind of come together. Like minds attract and all that sort of thing. So that's pretty cool. So you've been doing it for a few years. So what is it that keeps bringing you back all the time? What is it that keeps bringing you back week after week, wanting to keep doing the DJing that you're doing?
I think a big part of it is I set out because playing in a band was my dream, and it was going pretty good. We were pretty good regulars at most of the clubs in that area, and I found that one of my favorite parts of performing was like performing in front of a live audience and helping the party happen.
Yeah.
And I realized I could scratch that itch with DJing, and I could get a better quality of gig, and I could yeah, make a little bit more money too.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to share it. You don't have to split it quite as many ways. So that works out pretty well right there for you. Um, And so when you're going through and you're doing all this other kind of stuff, do you have like a big favorite memory that you think about all the time?
Of DJing,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think that every event is a opportunity to put your best foot forward and just do your absolute best. There's no unimportant events. But I think that for a while, I just had a lot of fun creating productions. I saw YouTubers have these like really cool productions with really cool programming. So there was one particular school dance. Well, here in Utah, we have a lot of church dances. So this was like a area church dance, and there were a ton of kids. And I wanted to do something like super cool, super crazy. And so I don't think they paid us nearly enough for this. And I was kind of hoping that we'd get more gigs like this. But I had a stage. I had like a giant 16-foot truss with like 8 movers, a ton of lights, and that was just a really cool production. And yeah, that was just a really energetic crowd, and that was a lot of fun.
No, that's pretty cool. And so you're talking about the YouTube. So you started doing stuff on YouTube. What kind of brought that around? What made you decide
Well,
you wanted to start doing that?
I probably have an LFX Pro to thank for that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Ben Stow's video on the Chauvet wheel sticks that kind of got me interested in them, and I appreciated what NLFX Pro had done to like make those like more usable for the DJ market,
Sure.
because you guys created like several adapters so you could connect it to mic stands and you can connect those two lights together. And I
Hmm.
thought that was great. But then I got the light and I'm like, all right, now I have the light. Now, how do I connect it to my existing ecosystem? How do I connect this to my DMX software? And there just weren't any resources for it. And I was frustrated. Like, I went to Chauvet's website and it was like very vague. The only video they really had was it being used like at a car show, which is cool, but not super useful. So it was the end of 2022, and I was just super busy. But I'm like, you know what? Probably somebody else out there has like the same issue as me. So I'm just gonna take my camera and I'm just gonna down and dirty create a quick video on how to connect this thing to SoundSwitch, because it took a lot of back and forth buying different hardware being the wrong one, and it was really frustrating. So I just wanted to help somebody else out there, and so I created a video, and it was kind of nerve-wracking at first. I mean, I even had somebody comment, because I shared it on Facebook. They're like, who are you to be creating content and telling people how to do things? And so it was a little bit nerve-wracking at first, but it was overall like had pretty good reception. So I just continued to do it. And I when I do things, sometimes I just like to push it as far as it can go to see like what level I can attain to. And it just really hasn't stopped. So I'm just continuing to create content.
No, that's good, and I'm glad that you kind of put yourself out there and did that because like you said, that there's people who push back right away. There's a lot of keyboard warriors out there, who think that they could do it better, but they don't. So it's hard to say whether they could or not. And as far as the nerves and everything, I can attest to that just from me myself personally. Like starting this podcast and everything for NLFX, having people like yourself on and all that sort of thing. It was a little nerve wracking. I wasn't sure, how are people going to like it? Is it going to be okay? All that sort of thing. But after a while, you just kind of understand, like, well, I'm doing it for me and for the content and for for those people out there who want to hear it. If you don't, that's cool. You don't have to listen to it. But if you want to, that's you know really good. You take a listen and all that sort of thing. So,
No, what you've
um,
been doing is great. You've been putting out a ton of content. This is like what, episode like 19?
I think that'd be 19. Yeah, it comes out. Yeah,
And you just like started this thing, so you were on fire. So yeah,
yeah.
keep
We're
going.
really
People
trying to
do
do
watch
weekly.
this.
Yeah, we're really trying to do weekly. I've missed a couple here and there. This last one we missed just couldn't get anything scheduled with people for a holiday, over the holidays, which is happens, and that's totally fine. But we'll continue to do it because it's really something that's fun to do, and I think it's very informative for myself. Obviously, I hope it's informative for the audience that's out there. But I think it's also really cool to keep the conversation on things going in our industry because things change all the time and different patterns happen in different places. And um, Utah is a place that I don't have a ton of reference for. Hey, what is the gig life out there? So thinking about that, I know how I've talked to a lot of East Coast or West Coast DJs, and hey, this is kind of how weddings go. So how's the wedding flow in Utah? Like kind of step me through a really normal day, like a normal wedding that you do out there.
Sure. Yeah, Utah is definitely a different market. I think that being a wedding vendor in general is pretty competitive because
Sure.
um, yeah, you can get rewarded pretty nicely. and it also you got to showcase your skills. But Utah is like very competitive. I think there's just something about the culture where a lot of people um, want a side hustle or they want like a job. So there's a lot of wedding vendors out here. So I think Utah's a little bit more competitive. And part of the culture too is um, to try to have like very affordable weddings.
Okay.
Even like, but I'd say like the majority of my weddings are like destination weddings. Um, but the typical wedding is usually about 6 hours, and it starts with a ceremony. Then you go to a
Hmm.
cocktail hour, and then a nice dinner, and then some formalities, and then you dance.
Okay. So is yours? So when I'm thinking about formalities, so my guess is dinner, then you like your first dance, mother, son, father, daughter, toasts, and then rocking out.
Right. So yeah, like your
Okay.
toasts, and if you do a bouquet toss or a garter toss, that's when you would throw those in there too. Although
Okay.
those are starting to be less and less popular. Same with the cake cutting, that's starting to become less and less popular.
Yeah, that seems to be a
Uh,
trend kind of everywhere. That not a lot of people are wanting to do all the additional things anymore.
right. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that have strong feelings on that. But me, I like to go with the flow. So if they
Yeah.
want to do it, great, make it work. Be polished with like your mic work and do a great job. But if they don't want it, also it's okay.
Yeah. I really think that it's kind of on us to make it, and I always really try to push my couples this way anyway. It really is your day. Make it how you want it to be. I can do the same exact wedding every week if you want me to, but I would rather you decide, hey, I really want to do something different and show, kind of walk me through your idea of something to do. So, yeah, I definitely
And I think
understand
it's
that
our
part of it.
job as like wedding DJs and MCs is to just kind of give them the pros and cons and let them decide. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, we can like interrupt the dance floor to do the cake cutting, and we'll totally make that work if that's something you want to do. But this is the pros, this is the cons. Or another real example is like the fake exit. It's like, well, we can do that. It kind of disrupts the flow. Some people are going to leave, but this is what we can do to
Yeah.
get people back, or we could just not do it that way. But
Yeah.
I think that's just really our job to give them the pros and cons.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's the best that we can do to hear everything that they want, and then kind of give our experience and our information back on it. Like, hey, I totally understand where you're coming from. In my experience, kind of like what you were saying, and then go from there. Um, because they really are kind of leaning on you to be the expert. Because we're at weddings every weekend, and they're not. So, uh,
Right. And
so
I think it's just important to ask good questions too. Like, what is the outcome that they want? Like, I had a wedding last month where they said, like, our family is very conservative. Dancing is kind of not very good. It's kind of offensive, just the act of dancing for our very religious family. So we don't really want a dance party, but so no telling people to get their hands on the
yeah, get on
floor.
the
That
dance floor. Yeah,
Yeah. So, and that's a type of wedding too. And I think it's our job to cater to that or not accept those kinds of weddings if that's something you don't want to do.
right. Yeah, yeah. There may be somebody who just can't necessarily. Hey, you know what? That's not my style. I think you'd be better going with something else. Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, just giving your expertise. Um, so if, going back to YouTube here for a minute. So was there a video that really kind of took off for you that you really thought, what, maybe I should just keep doing this, or was it that very first one that you really just thought, hey, I'll keep doing it?
Um, yeah, that one was like did okay, but I think it was just some of the SoundSwitch content because I there's a lot of amazing people on YouTube that have made some really awesome videos, and I just felt like I was just so inadequate, and I didn't think that like my SoundSwitch experience was that great. But I realized that it isn't always necessary. Creating content isn't necessarily about being the best at everything. It's sometimes about you know being able to create good content that's like actionable, that people can relate to, that people can like gain something from. And I figured I was not too bad at that, and there just wasn't a ton of content on the SoundSwitch stuff. So that stuff like really helped my channel grow.
Okay. We're doing the SoundSwitch stuff. That's awesome. Do you have like a kind of a favorite video that you've done and shot and put out there?
Um, I think I did a crash course. I think like a 16-minute crash course, just going through everything. I thought that was a pretty good video. And then there was another
Crash course on
video
SoundSwitch
on
or
SoundSwitch. Yep.
okay.
And you can create a crash course on all sorts of things.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's also another one where I just was really impressed with SoundSwitch with like how you could immediately get results. Because I was just hearing people say like to get the most out of the DMX programming, you have to spend like hours and hours like dialing it in. And while you can do that, I just made a video showing that within like 5 minutes you could instantly be up and running. And I was supposed to make a video after that one just showing like what like a little bit more time you could get like better results, but
Yeah.
never happened.
Well, hey, there's no time like the present. You're thinking about it now. Maybe that's something you can go back and do for an upcoming video. So
Thought about it.
there you go. Absolutely. So let's step through some of that stuff that you're using. You said that doing different gear things and all that sort of thing. So what kind of lighting gear and stuff do you use? So obviously you SoundSwitch. What kind of fixtures and stuff do you use with that?
Yeah. So my approach has like evolved a little bit over the years. So my DJ company, we have like pretty much like two lighting packages. So one is like a basic, and that just includes like a light bar of some sort. And I know there's a lot of YouTubers that have strong feelings against like the gig bar, and I'm not one of them. I think the gig bar is fine as a basic dance floor option. So something like that, or having several pars, kind of like the uplights you have behind you, on top of a T-bar is also another option for that. And there's a lot more brands putting out like gig bar style all-in-one light bars these days, and that's awesome. And then for me, I like to keep my lighting like a little bit more open-ended. I think when I first started offering like uplights, for instance, I put in packages like the default package comes with 16 uplights, and that sometimes just didn't work out that well because sometimes some venues you needed a lot more than 16, or 16 was too much. Like, so you're just like trying to
Yeah.
cram a bunch of lights because they technically paid for it. So we just say that we provide premium lighting, and that's up to like the operator on how to use it. So for me, I like uplights, and I like to have like pretty good coverage all around the room. And I have about 20 to 24 uplights at a gig. And I like having a couple of moving headlights, and those I like to put on totems. And so they can just kind of scan across the room, they can scan the crowd, and you can do a lot of cool stuff with them. You can shine them on the center of the dance floor when it's like the first dance, just to like highlight attention, and then the pictures could turn out amazing. And then I've been really a big fan of the pixel tubes, and I know that they can be a little bit controversial for some, but I love them because they aren't too bright. Um, they have a wide dispersion of light, so they look great in photographs and pictures and videos, and they're not blinding anybody. And you can pixel map them, and pixel mapping is where you can have like different chases go up and down the tubes, and that just creates movement and energy in the room you're at. So that's really been like my main setup, and I've just been kind of obsessed this past year with lights that are battery powered and have built-in wireless DMX just for a more streamlined and quick setup. And yeah, I think last year I got my first set of battery powered movers, the JMAZ Aerospot 60s from you guys, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they were awesome.
Awesome. So, is there specific uplights and stuff that you use? I mean, I know you said you had the Chauvet, the tubes, the 360s, and then you have the JMAZ movers. Is there specific uplights that you use all the time?
Um, I've only really had like two kinds of uplights, but my main ones are ones that NOFX Pro doesn't sell, the both
Oh, that's
lighting
all right.
IR4s.
Okay.
But there are other, I think that they were a market disruptor. I mean, they're not the ones that started the idea of a mini par. That was Ape Labs. But just the fact that you can, because I think to do uplighting really effectively is to have a lot of them, like having lots of coverage
Yeah.
around your venue. And so they can sometimes weigh a lot and they can take up a lot of room. So just the fact that you have like a mini par, you're able to take a lot more of them and it's not as burdensome. And like JMass has come out with one with the Mad Par IP. Color Key has come out with the, I think, Hex 5. But I think that's definitely the way that the market's going to be going, like smaller uplights.
Yeah. The Eternal has the new one, the Icon 4. They introduced it last year. They had a couple technical things, but they're out now. The Icon 4. I think the really cool thing about those Icon 4s is they actually charge via USB-C. So
Oh, okay.
you don't have to worry, like have the PowerCon connectors and all that other stuff kind of stuff. It's just kind of a little quick click plug and play. And the cool thing about those Icon 4s also is they actually come with a white sleeve that goes over top. So you can have them in white or black right out of the
You
box.
don't have to
So,
choose right off the bat. Yeah, that's
right,
awesome.
yeah. Yeah,
We just
you don't
need
have to do it.
DJ controllers to have USB Type C. But
Right, yeah, for power. Yeah, no kidding, right? So many different things could use it, but just don't. So that's pretty cool. So then audio. So what are you using audio wise? Let's start with first of all, are you an external mixer guy?
um, it
Or you just run
depends.
right out of your board?
Um, I don't have strong feelings on that either. I do have an external mixer. I have the Yamaha MG06
Sure.
and the 10. I just have it because that's just what I've always had. One of my friends, when I first got started with DJing, he lent me his entire rig so I could get started. And he had that mixer, and it's a solid mixer. It has XLR out, which I like. So I've been using that one. And they have like different sizes too for different people. I think we have the 12, the 16.
Yeah, they got
Um,
quite a few different ones.
yeah. And there's like some cool advantages of like the digital mixers out there, but I've just been pretty happy with my basic Yamaha.
Sure. So you're going from a Yamaha. What are you going into? What are you coming out with for sound? Like, so let's start with the controller. What are you using for a controller or a mixer?
Yeah. So last year, the majority of the year, I've been using my Rain One. I don't know if you can see
Yep.
that.
Hmm.
The motor busted. I busted it at my second to last gig last year. So I was considering getting a new one, but I've been getting used to this one and I like it. So I think I'm just gonna stick with it. Um, I also have a Rain 7212 combo, which I'm a pretty big fan of. I like the full size platters, and I've just been a big fan of the rotating platters too. I think it just looks awesome and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Uh, and then, yeah, and I've been trying all this Denon DJ Prime Go Plus, which, actually the NLFX Pro booth at MEX last year was the first time I played with that, and I was pretty impressed with that. I thought that was really cool. I
Yeah.
think it was the first time I met you too. You gave me the Evers demo.
Okay. Sure.
You
Yeah.
compared the 8s and the 12s.
Yeah. Well, and I'm a big fan of the Prime Go. I use it for all my ceremonies.
Nice.
It's a really cool little, and it's a really great backup rig. Because you can just
Absolutely.
plug it in with the Everse or any other battery powered speaker you might have, and it just goes really well, and it's just great in a pinch. So I really like that a lot.
Do you
Um,
plug it in or do you Bluetooth out?
I plug it in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing too.
Yeah, I mean the Bluetooth works fine, and I have done it like practicing and all that kind of stuff. Just if I needed to do it, will it be okay?
Right.
But I'm just a fan of plug it in. It's right there. It's 4 feet away. Why can't
One
I
less
plug it
point
in?
of failure.
Yeah, yep. And especially like ceremony audio, all that kind of stuff. I'm pretty worried about because like it's one of those important things that happens during the day, and so I really want to make sure that that doesn't fail for any reason. And so,
Absolutely.
like you said, any point of failure I can take out, I generally try to do that. Um, so then, speakers are you playing all the awesome music to?
Yeah, I changed my setup quite a bit last year. Um, I started using the Evox 12s by RCF,
Yep.
um, partially just because I wanted to see if the grass was greener on the other side. I was pretty happy with the Evol 50s for most of my gigs, but I have the kind of silly impulse, but to do an all white DJ setup. So I figured that was a good time to try out the Evox 12s. And I've been pretty happy with them. They definitely get louder and they thump a little bit harder with a bigger 15-inch sub.
Yep.
I still think the Evol 50s are really good for a lot of the gigs out there, especially the weddings I do. I hear people doing like these 800-person weddings, and I just really haven't had a lot of those come in my career.
No, very few 800-person weddings. I've had a couple like 400 people weddings. I've never had an 800, so that's not something that I've done. School dances. You get 12, 1,400 kids, but um, yeah, no, I've never done a wedding that big. Hope to maybe someday, but no,
Sure.
I've never done that
Yeah.
one either. So that's really good. So do you have like a favorite piece of equipment? Is there something that you just every single time you use it, you're really excited to use it, you're happy to use it? Um, Maybe make reasons to use it. Maybe you don't have to. Anything like that?
Um, yeah, I definitely could see a lot of instances of that. I talked about all my lights, and I think that sometimes it's not a lot of my competitors and stuff don't use as many lights or program them the way I do, but I just really enjoy using them and I enjoy having a lot of control and being very intentional with how I use my lights. So I'm always excited to play with them and try different lighting configurations. And I really like my Control One because when I first got started, I was kind of using my laptop to control my software for my music as well as lighting. So I kind of switched back and forth, but just having a separate interface in front of me that I can do all the controls I need to do on the fly has just been really awesome. I love it.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I run two laptops. I run one laptop for my music, one laptop for my lighting. That way I can do everything over here and still change stuff with not having to worry about, oh, I got to go to a different program. I got to get out of my music. Well, what happens if I hit a short key on the wrong time? All that kind of
Right.
stuff. So, again, different things for different things for different pieces of equipment, different uses, all that sort of thing. I like to keep that. I like to keep that separate. Um, So when was it during your kind of your venture into DJing and all that kind of stuff? When did you discover NLFX?
Um, Probably pretty early on. NLFX has like a pretty strong presence on the Facebook groups, and I think DJ Idea Sharing was probably one of the first groups I joined. So probably pretty early on,
Yeah,
and I've
and
got a
then you
lot of great things from you guys.
yeah, so then you started like watching the YouTube channel and all that sort of thing, all the different stuff that Ben put out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is it that keeps like kind of keeps bringing you back to NLFX? Is there something that specifically, or besides obviously Ben and all his crazy wisdom?
Yeah, I mean, there are different areas on the internet where you can get like so maybe save a few extra dollars, but I think NFX Pro does a good job at like the customer service, and you guys are very nice. You just have to ask, and that's where you get all the best deals.
Well, yeah, we try to give the try to give the best that we can for everybody. Absolutely. So who is it that you usually deal with when you contact us?
It's just been different people, but I think it's mostly Danny.
Okay, Danny. So those of you who don't know out there, that Danny Stowe, that's actually Ben's brother. So he works at FX also. So if you want to get a hold of him or myself, you know where to get a hold of us at. Um, so do you want to give a shout out to any things that you want us to check out? Your YouTube channel or where to follow you on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that?
Sure, you can check me out on YouTube or Instagram at DJ Daryl Bennett. I have it right here.
There it is.
You can also follow my DJ company, admdj.com or at ADM Productions DJ.
Awesome. And is it at DJ Daryl for YouTube also?
Yep, at DJ Daryl Bennett.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, hey, I appreciate all your time, Daryl. Thank you so much for being on with us this week. Um, anything else that you want to shout out to anybody else before we head out for the day?
Just have a good time DJing and make every gig count and cherish your time with your loved ones, and that's it.
Absolutely couldn't have said it better. Thank you so much for watching another episode of the Soundstage. We'll be back with you guys next week. Take care.
Bye.